Good morning, happy Monday. I hope you all had a nice weekend and did something a little bit different from your weekday since we are all home and doing the same thing. We are doing module 5, lesson 14, right? Is it lesson 14? I was just looking at it. Yes, lesson 14. Okay, module 5, lesson 14. So you need to make sure that you have that pulled up from your Google Classroom. You should also be obviously on the YouTube page watching this video, and then you have a sheet of paper next to you. So you're either writing and editing in that document on Google Classroom or you're doing it on paper. Either way, you're submitting it back into Google Classroom so that we can check it during office hours and that I have a copy of your work. The question that when you come into office hours I want you to answer is, if you could make a tree house, any treehouse, wildest imagination, what would it look like? Come into office hours with that answer, with your packet completed and questions that you have as you're working through it, and your exit ticket so that we can check it. And good luck. It's a fun lesson. Happy Monday. You should be looking at Module 5, Lesson 14, What's the Area? We are going to be multiplying mixed number factors and looking at the distributive property and area model as we work through them. So what we are doing today is building on what we have been doing and looking at critically thinking through word problems. To start, you should be looking at your fluency. We have done one similar to this, and you're going to keep working through it. So 3 times 2, you should be putting, ooh, that's a really big pen mark there. You should be putting 6. 3 times 2/10 is going to give you 6/10. Then you keep moving through this. You should be thinking through your place value chart if you need to. Pause the video now and finish your fluency. All right, your fluency is going to be the first thing that you show us in office hours. You are then moving to your Thrive Point challenge. We are focusing on our 7s right now. If you can, set up a timer for 2 minutes to see how far you get at the end of that 2 minutes, then finish. But see if you can finish the whole thing in those 2 minutes, just like we would do in class. Pause the video now and work through this page. All right, and as you can see, the next page, it skips that concept development. We are jumping straight into our problem set. That's because some of these problems take a little bit longer and you really need to think it through. You should be writing this directly on the PDF online. So if you click edit, then you can annotate and do everything you need to on here. Otherwise, you're doing it on your paper, but make sure that you are keeping your work super organized because there's lots of pieces of information. Let's look at this first one together. George decided to paint a wall with 2 windows. Okay, so if I'm looking at the picture that it gives me, the windows are those gray boxes. All right, both windows are 3.5 feet by 4.5 feet rectangles, so both of them. So I know that I'm going to have, well, let's keep reading. Find the area the paint needs to cover. Okay, well, if I'm thinking about that, I'm obviously not going to paint the windows. So what it's saying is I need to find the area of all of this space on the wall around those windows. So the way that I'm thinking about this is, okay, well, if I have the whole thing, if I can figure out the area of the whole entire wall, and then I can subtract the area of both windows. That will leave me with just the remaining area. So because I'm looking for the area the paint needs to cover, I'm thinking that I'm going to subtract. Okay, so let's start by finding the area of the wall, and then I'm going to find the area of those windows. All right, well, the wall is, it says 12 and, does that say 3/8? And it is 8 feet. So those are those dimensions. Get this written on your paper. Make sure, again, that it is organized. Okay, and I'm realizing it's 12 and 7/8. So I'm going to rewrite that here so that it's neat. Oop, got rid of my color. Okay. So for the wall, it's 12 and 7/8 by 8 feet. Okay, so that's the entire wall. So as I think that through, I'm going to write 8 here, and I'm saying 12 and then 7/8. So as I break that apart, okay, I only need to break it on that side. I'm going to have 12 times 8. So you should be getting 96 there. And then here, it's saying 8 times 7/8. So again, that's like saying 8 over 1. And we are multiplying that top. And we have 56/8 that you're going to have written on your paper there for that second part, which I know is the same as saying 7. Now that I have those two pieces, I'm going to add them together. So that is going to give me 103 square feet. That's the entire wall, but again, I'm not going to paint the windows. So now that I'm actually going to move that over here so that you can see my work. Now that I figured that out, what I want you to do on your own is to figure out the area of the windows. Keep in mind, it gave you the dimensions for one of the windows, 3.5 by 4.5. But remember, that's only for one window, and we have 2 windows. So once you figure out the area for one, what are you going to need to do? I want you to finish this problem on your own, and then complete that last step that we talked about. We said once we found those windows, we were going to subtract it from the entire wall so that we know just how much we are going to paint. Pause the video now and finish number 1. All right, you should be sharing your answers and your work with us while we are at office hours. Now we are going to look at number 2. Joe uses square tiles, some of which he cuts in half. Well, let's just think of right there about that part. So if we have a square tile and we cut it in half, that could look like, we could cut it in half where it looks like a triangle. So when I just think about that part, and I think, well, if I have 2 triangles, just like this, that 2 triangles is the same as saying 1 square. Okay, so he has square tiles, some he cuts in half. If each square tile has a side length of 2.5 inches, if each square tile, so we have 2.5 inches, it's a square, which means they're both the same. What is the total area of the figure? Well, it gives me enough information, so I need to figure out the area of one of them, and then I can figure out the area of all of them. How do I figure out the area of one of them? It told us it was a square and that both of the dimensions were going to be 2.5. So you figure out that area. It wants to know the area of the whole figure. Well, whatever I get here, that's going to tell me the area of just one of them. So how do you think I'm going to figure out the area of the whole thing? You should be thinking, how are you going to figure it out for these ones that are halves? Make sure that you keep your work really organized. And again, you're going to complete this on your own and show us back in office hours. So I'm looking to see all of this work. Go ahead, pause the video now and work through 2. When we move to number 3, I'm looking at room A, room B, and room C. All-in-one carpets is installing in 3 rooms, so all of those rooms need to have carpets. How many square feet are needed to carpet all of the rooms? Well, this is similar to when we did volume and we decomposed the different pieces, but we're just doing area. So I'm thinking I need to find the area for room A and the area of room B and the area of room C, and then add those together, and that will tell me the total carpet. So I need to make sure that I'm finding my lengths there. The way that I would organize this is saying, okay, here's going to be all of my work for A, here's going to be all of my work for B, and here's going to be my work for C. Pause the video and work through 3. Okay, so I've started thinking through, I have my length and my width for room A and for room B, and then I looked at C, and I found my width right there, 16 3/4, and now I need to figure out what is my length, but I'm having some trouble figuring out my length. I see here that the length is 25 1/4, but that goes all the way across, and I don't need all the way across. But I see that room C is a little bit smaller, and it actually tells me those differences. I see here that this difference right here of the part I don't need is 2 1/4. And right here, this part I don't need is 2. Why is it not letting me write? Is 2. What is going on? It broke. Okay, there we go. And that is 2 feet. Well, so if the whole thing is 25 1/4, but I don't need that 2, because this was unneeded area, and I don't need that 2 1/4 foot, that was almost a 4. Let's try that again. There we go. I'm going to subtract both of those. Oh, and that's going to give me this last dimension that I need. That's going to give me the length of room C. Then you can keep moving forward. Go ahead and finish these problems and pause the video now. You should now be looking at number 4. Use the chart for B. You're going to work through those on your own and then show us in office hours. Once you finish 4, go ahead and flip the page, and you're going to be looking at 5. So you are going to pause the video now. There are a couple different ways that you can do 5, drawing the squares, how they could be arranged. Take this time to finish problem number 4 and finish 5. Remember to keep them really organized. That's going to help you. Pausing now. Once you've paused, you are onto your exit ticket. Make sure again that you keep your work really organized so that you can check your work and so that you can go back and fix something if you need to fix it. You also don't want to make a small mistake because you went too quickly and didn't keep your work neat. Once you've finished all of those word problems and this exit ticket, you are going to jump into office hours and show us all of your work. So you should submit, if you did it on by saving the PDF, submit it in Google Classroom so that we're able to look at it. And remember that this last page has notes in order to help you out. Good luck, and I will see you in office hours.